Welcome to this edition of My Favorite Pokemon Types. In this episode, I'll be covering Steel-type Pokemon. Now, as a disclaimer, this video has nothing to do with the overuse, the underuse, has nothing to do with the Smogon standings, has nothing to do with metagame, competitive play. It just has to do with my favorite Pokemon of the Steel-type. The Steel-type was introduced in Generation 2 as like the ultimate defense type, only taking neutral damage from water and electric, and double damage from fire, ground, and fighting, because, you know, fighting types being super strong could bend steel, you know, that made sense. And obviously, fire would melt it. I'm not really sure how ground comes into play. I guess steel buildings would fall apart in an earthquake. All that having been said, so some of our older Pokemon that we loved got evolutions. The first of that being Scizor. Scizor was a Pokemon that I was very much looking forward to use. I thought it was an interesting choice how they went from having scythes on Scyther to, like, pincers. Even though I get that they're saying that it's scissors, like an upgrade, I guess, to the sword was having, you know, scissor, like, two blades cutting on one hand. Like, I don't know. But Scizor was really cool. Now, it gains a lot of power, but it loses a lot of speed. But then again, as a bug steel type, its only weakness is fire. So that makes Scizor a very good catcher. I use Scizor as a catcher for quite a while. I found Fury Cutter, a very weak bug move, to be like great, because more often than not, a level 40 Pokemon could just be whittled down to 1 HP if you have a level 100 Scizor. I did enjoy using Scizor. I still do. I always imagined, like, when I saw it in the anime, and it was using Metal Claw, and it was using Metal Claw more as a hammer. Like, it wasn't like scratching or trying to use, like, the pincers as like a vice grip to, you know, damage the foe. Instead, it was using it more like a hammer to hit the Heracross. And anytime you see like Scizor in the anime, it's always like very fast, very nimble, and it's just so powerful. Now, my Scizor, it does know X-Scissor, it knows Bullet Punch. I've had some that have known Wing Attack or Aerial Ace. And then, like, the final slot, I would always just vary depending on what I was trying to do with it. One of the Pokedex entries for Scizor, which I always found to be interesting, that was that its new body is very, very hot, and it will flap its wings to keep itself cool. So the wings aren't even really to help it move faster and help it, like, fly around. They're more so functional to keep its body temperature low. I think that was pretty cool. Next up is Steelix. Now, Steelix is the evolved form of Onix, much like Scyther with the metal coat into Scizor. Onix 2 with a metal coat becomes Steelix. In later generation games, you can find wild Steelix, like, in deeper caves, and I do believe there's like an iron cave in the Sinnoh region where you can find wild Steelix, and it's always kind of like, why is there a wild Steelix here? Like, I thought this was something that, like, could only happen through trait evolution. Steelix was pretty cool. I thought it was kind of neat, like, I felt its head was too big for its body, to be honest. But, so, when Steelix was fresh and new as a new Pokemon, I saw they could learn Dragon Breath, and I would use it, like, have it use Dragon Breath, because it always had that chance to paralyze. It wasn't even for, oh, it can use a Dragon-type move, and it's not a dragon. It was solely because there was that chance to paralyze, and it would make up for its speed. Now, in more modern times, we can give a Steelix Gyro Ball, which, you know, compensates for that lower speed, because you want the difference in the speed to be greater, so Gyro Ball will hit even harder. Steelix has amazing defense. It is even more of a wall than Onix was. And I always enjoyed, like, having it, you know, like, it's a wall, but it can hit so hard. In many ways, it's more like a bat, you know? Like, it's hard to damage a bat, really, because a bat is made to hit things. So there's that defense aspect. But Steelix, you know, hits hard with Iron Tail. You can have it learn Earthquake. I prefer Dig. I really do. I always prefer Dig. I know, oh, if your Pokemon uses Dig, they can have someone use Earthquake and it'll do double the damage. Well, things happen. I just like Dig. It's a nice move. I think it's pretty cool. It saves you from damage for a turn. It stalls out the opponent just a little bit. And that's why I like that. And now, in Pokemon Stadium, though, what was weird was, and they kept true to this even in the anime, when it would open its mouth, its teeth were blocked, and I kind of thought maybe all of its teeth were on its lower jaw, but when it opened its mouth and some of the teeth would stay on the top and some would stay on the bottom and they were like jagged, I was just like, oh, like, it's not even that it was an imperfection, it just kind of took away from like the sleeker design that you would expect from a steel type. I know it originally comes from a rock type, but even so. In Generation 3, I thought I caught a pseudo-legendary in the Granite Cave. But no. Actually, in a way, I guess maybe Aggron is a pseudo-legendary, but is not a pseudo-legendary. So, okay. Aeron took forever to evolve into Lyron. It doesn't evolve until, like, level 32. But then, Lyron will become an Aggron in just 10 levels. Like, what is that? So you'll have your little Pokemon for quite a while, and given how defense-oriented this Pokemon family is, when I got to the Elite Four, I was very underleveled, but somehow, so when I got to Steven Stone, right, with Lyron, and granted, you're seeing Aggron on the screen, but hear me out. Cradily only knew, I think it was Leech Seed, Confuse Ray, Sludge Bomb, and I believe Ingring. Like, it really didn't have any moves. Like, I kept switching out my Pokemon until eventually the only Pokemon that were left that could fight this Cradily, and Cradily was the only Pokemon that Steven Stone had left, was Lyron. So Sludge Bomb didn't work. I stalled out Confuse Ray somehow. I don't even know how that happened. Finally, it ran out of Confuse Rays, and it just had to keep using Sludge Bomb because, well, that's all it had left, and Sludge Bomb wasn't going to work on a Steel type. Well, guess what? I finally got to get off a couple Iron Tails, and that's how I won my Pokemon Sapphire first run through Elite Four Champion Battle. That is how I did it, with an unevolved Pokemon, no held item to make it, like, special or anything of the sort. That's all that it was. When it evolved into Aggron, finally, and we went back, and, you know, because I wanted to teach Steven Stone a lesson, and we did much better, because we were, like, level 70 or so, and he was still in the 50s. So, Aggron remained one of my powerhouse Pokemon. I really took advantage of the fact that it was so defense-oriented. Now, later on, you know, it does get, like, Metal Burst, which is a good counter, and I've fallen prey to it a couple of times. However, my thing was, it had Rock Head. It's so defensive, it doesn't even take recoil damage. That was just awesome, and I like the fact that, like, Aggron itself, when you read the Pokedex, it's about agriculture. It actually turns up the land so that new plants can grow. Like, I thought that was really cool. Like, it's basically a Pokemon that is farming the Hoenn region. Now, there is a Mega form. I haven't really touched Mega Aggron, just because, like, I did use it in my Alpha Sapphire playthrough, but, like, all my Pokemon on my team were able to Mega Evolve. So it was kind of like, who am I going to Mega Evolve in this battle to win? That's pretty much how that went. Finally, Metagross. Now, I know there's been a lot of Steel-type Pokemon since Gen 3, and I know I'm saying finally, but Metagross is just really cool. I didn't even realize how much I was going to like Metagross. Beldum and Metang, they were kind of harder to raise, but they are kind of pseudo-legendary-ish. No, they are pseudo-legendaries. But Metagross was so worth it with, like, Meteor Mash, the Bullet Punch. I think Meteor Mash has, like, the ability to increase attack, and then you can teach it, like, Zen Headbutt because of the physical, you know, split. Even with Psychic, it was still a hard hitter. And then playing through Alpha Sapphire, and then seeing how, what was it? You get the special shiny Metagross with, well, Beldum, and you can have it evolve all through its evolutionary line, and it's got the move Hold Back. It is such an amazing catcher. Now, unfortunately, they nerfed the Steel type, so Steel Psychic, it's going to take super effective damage from Dark and Ghost, which, but it's well worth it at the end of the day, just even if it does have some more weaknesses now. I've always felt Metagross was pretty awesome, and then you can teach it Earthquake. Like, I just imagine it jumping into the air and slamming down with all 4 of its feet, hand things, just slamming into the ground to generate that earthquake, or even like, so when it does like bullet punch, it's just using like one of its, like one of its forelegs. But then when it's doing meteor mash, I just imagine it again. It jumps into the air and it generates like that steel energy, and it just slams down onto the opponent. And like, I always wanted, like, when they showed it using Psychic in the anime, I liked how like the X that goes across its face would like illuminate, and you would just see the psychic waves coming off of it. I kind of imagine that's how it might use Hyper Beam too, even though I think I saw one that used Hyper Beam and it came out of its mouth, which was kind of a shame. Like, I would have preferred to see an X Hyper Beam. It would have been very Giant Robot-ish. One more thing with Metagross is that I like that it was just so alien looking. Like, a lot of the Pokemon in Gen 3 had like a very sleek design to it. You could very much tell what they were going for. But with like Metagross, it was kind of like, what? Like, this thing is just so alien. Like, why? Maybe it's so alien because maybe it partners with Deoxys in some way, like design-wise, because Deoxys is an alien Pokemon. Who knows? But that's pretty much it. Thank you so much. Make sure to check out my Pokemon Sun playthrough. Make sure to give this video a like. Do subscribe and check out my other videos in the right-hand column. Thank you so much as always for all of your support. This portion of the video is exclusive to Patreon. It should not be seen or heard anywhere else. So, in the 4th generation Pokemon Diamond and Pearl, the flagship Pokemon for Pokemon Diamond version is Dialga, the Pokemon that created time. It is the Pokemon that exists because time exists. As long as there is the concept of time, Dialga is there. Such was the ideal of our one and true Lord, Arceus. All joking aside though, so I kind of liked Dialga's design. I thought it was like a futuristic looking design, but I kind of also felt too like it's a dinosaur. Like it's like a future and the past is like one thing, because this is the time Pokemon. It has that really cool Roar of Time attack, which is, a dragon type Hyper Beam. Let's just call it what it is, because Dialga has to recharge afterwards. Though the fact that a Pokemon that requires, like, controls time actually needs time to recharge is a little, I guess, ironic. Like, you would think he would just skip himself ahead to when he was recharged and he'd be good, but I guess he can't do that because even he's a singularity within blah 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 blah. Like I said, it was the Pokemon that I had to catch. It was part of the story, and of course I had it with me to the Elite Four. In fact, because I knew I was going to have to catch it, I reserved a slot in my team just for it. So it was kind of challenging to use, and I found once you get it, it doesn't really face too much challenge even when it goes against the Elite Four. Like, granted, it is a legendary, yes, but you would think, not leveling up very quickly and only maybe being at level 50 by the time, leveling up 3 levels, by the time you get to, I think no, it's not Evergrande City. By the time you get to wherever the Sinnoh League is, and you're battling Cynthia, Dialga holds its own. It's very bulky, and you gotta just like it for the fact that it's, a cyber tech dinosaur. Magnezone is a Pokemon that evolves from Magneton, and only in certain areas where there's a lot of magnetism, particularly Mount Coronet. There are other places throughout the Pokemon world, but in Mount Coronet, that's the first place we learned about it, so deal. I always kind of wanted, like, Magneton, and of course Magnezone to have more electric magnet type attacks. Like, it does have Magnet Pool as its ability, which lures out steel types and prevents them from exiting battle. And it does have Magnet Bomb, a steel type move, but I wanted an electric move that was magnetism based. And why not, have it have like some extra effect, like, if you're using it on an electric type, it would like not do any damage, but instead increase their special attack, something like that. But if you're using it on other types, it has like some other added effect. I don't really know like what it could be, but I think that'd be a pretty sweet way of using Magnezone. And plus, like, I always imagined it would be cool, because I saw in the Giratina movie, someone was actually riding around on a Magnezone, and I think Magnezone races would have been like a very cool episode for the anime. Even if it was like a 2 or 3 parter, that would have been perfectly fine. Just having it race through like a really rocky area where like they encounter different things that they must overcome in this part of the racing. You gotta do it really fast. I had a shiny Magnezone once. I named it Plan X, short for Planet Express ship, because I wanted to say it was like the UFO was kind of like the Planet Express ship. That's totally what I was going for there. Let me know about your favorite Steel-type Pokemon. Make sure to head over to my YouTube channel. Check out my Pokemon Sun Let's Play until Pokemon Ultra Sun comes out next month in November 2017. Thank you guys, as always, for all your kind and generous support. It is greatly appreciated, and you will see some results in the near future. And again, as always, thank you so much.